What's going on, Big Blue Nation? Your boy Big Blue Steph back with part 3, which is the second quarter of the New York Giants 2022-2023 season in review. So, going into second quarter, which was probably one of the scariest parts of our season, when we looked at the schedule ahead, we had to travel to London to go play the Green Bay Packers. Packers, I think, first time playing overseas. Us, we've been in London 2 other times, I think maybe 3. And yeah, we came out with the win on this one. It was tough, Saquon got a little dinged up. His shoulder got injured, and I think that's something that lingered on for the rest of the season. Rest would help. He would get those veteran days to kind of let it recoup a little bit. DJ was a little banged up a little bit still off that ankle. There were thoughts that maybe Tyrod Taylor might have to start the game. DJ had one of those miraculous Wolverine type recoveries. He was able to play, but he wasn't 100%, but he gave it his all. This game, after the game, of course, but during the game, Sexy Dexy just put his imprint on that game. He literally was just in the backfield all the time. He made it very uncomfortable for Aaron Rodgers to get anything going with that offense, as he was adjusting to not having many number 1 receivers or number 2 receivers. So he was pretty frustrated that game. And yeah, it just seemed like we just had their number. We played them tough the entire time. Even with that, they had a chance to come back in the fourth quarter, and our defense held them on a fourth quarter and fourth down possession where Xavier McKinney, I think, was getting ready to come on a blitz and came back, put his hand up, knocked Aaron Rodgers' pass on fourth down, and that's all she wrote. We got that W, and that got us to 4-1. Keep in mind, we only won 4 games the entire of the last season. So in 5 games, we had already tied our win total for the previous season. So we were definitely riding high. We're definitely loving this. And next thing you know, hey, on a semi-short week, we got to go over back home and go play Baltimore. Actually, I think we had to go into Baltimore. But yeah, Baltimore, that game, that was a staple piece. We have, was he the reigning MVP? I don't remember who won MVP. It might have been him. But Lamar Jackson, it was the Wink revenge game against Baltimore. They let him go. They had a difference of point of view between Harbaugh and Wink, and Wink was let go, which was perfect for us. Wink, really turned around our defense, made us, at least a decent defense. Our run defense was still porous throughout the season, but he made us an aggressive defense where we just didn't sit back and get attacked all day. So, that was good on our end. But yeah, that game was amazing. I lost my cool a couple times just out of excitement. But no, it was an awesome game. Our defense came through as usual. We make our plays on offense, but our defense came through that game. Wink had the master plan. He knows how to play Lamar, and he knows what rattles him. We got the Julian Love interception after Lamar took the shotgun snap, fumbled a little bit, ran around. Next thing you know, he's throwing it just throwing it across his body, across the field. Julian Love steps up, interception, and that basically iced the game. Kayvon Thibodeau, he had sent his tweet out, I don't know how many years ago, saying, one of his biggest joys or biggest goals is to sack Lamar Jackson. He did that in this game, and next thing you know, hey, here we are. Giants 5-1. Can you believe it? 5-1 New York Giants. We toughed out another game. It was close. We did it, and on to the next one. And the next one was Jacksonville. We traveled down to Jacksonville. And that game, earlier in the season, or probably in the offseason, probably was like, oh, we definitely got this win. But Jacksonville was starting to play pretty tough, and we didn't realize that. But it was really a good game, at least for us on that overall. DJ and Saquon, I believe both eclipsed 100 yards rushing. So that was, the two-headed monster, just continue to ground and pound. So we definitely were doing well on that front. And from there on, it was just trying to maintain this lead. Who knows, early in the second half, or I think it was late in the second half, Travis Etienne, was running. I think he got free and around like the 5-yard line or so, fumbled. Next thing you know, Julian Love recovers the fumble, takes it back a couple yards, and that saves a touchdown because they definitely looked like they were about to score. So who knows the trajectory of what that fumble did for us during that game. But we did win it. We won this game. It was a little bit of a tough one. This was the Daniel Bellinger game where he got poked in the eye. On his entire eye socket was, it was just, yeah. But yeah, so he would be out. His orbital bone broken. He would be out for, I think, the next 4 or 5 weeks or so. So that was pretty rough to see. I believe, what was it? Wan'Dale Robinson, I believe he had a touchdown in that game, or at least a couple catches. He was getting active, so we definitely lot going on. But yeah, overall that game, it was a rough one. And actually after that game, well, not specifically after that game, this was week 7 or 8, leading up to 7 or leading up to 8. After that game, Kadarius Toney actually got traded. That was our 3rd round and 6th round extra picks we're getting for Kadarius Toney going to Kansas City. Mr. Can't stay on the field more than a couple plays. Yeah, we came out with the win. I think later during the week we came out with, the Toney trade. So it was a good week overall. We got to, was it 5-1 and 6-1? I think it was 6-1. So yeah, hey, we'll take it. So yeah, next week we gotta travel across the nation to Seattle, where it's always tough to play. Man, Seattle, that game really caught my attention. Up until that game, I really didn't pay attention to Seattle. You're thinking, Geno Smith, he couldn't do nothing with us, couldn't do nothing with the Jets. He's just washed up basically, and they had nobody else to play quarterback. Well, dude came back with a vengeance this season. Between him and the running game he had and his ability to pass, the deep ball pass, he had a pretty good season. And yeah, this game took us by surprise, or at least took me by surprise, because I really didn't think Seattle was that tough of a team. And they took it to us. They really did. And we came out with a loss. This was a game right before our bye week. I don't know if we were looking forward to the bye week or what. It was just an ugly game. Just an ugly game for us. I think my biggest highlights of that game was just Richie James fumbling 2 punt returns. That's 2 possessions that we probably could have scored on, 2 possessions that we could have kept the ball away from Seattle, and we couldn't get that done. And that game just irked me. And going into that game, we were thinking, oh, we could beat Seattle, we could be 7-1, and we didn't get there. We ended up 6-2. So considering how the season started and how we were like, oh, this is just kind of like a exploratory, experimental, let's find out what we have on this team type of game. This whole season turned into, hey, we're actually fairly good, and depending on how things go, we could actually make the playoffs. But of course, that talk hadn't started yet. But you start thinking, if we get about 3 or 4 more wins, we're at 6 at the midway point of our season, why can't we make the playoffs with another 3 or 4 wins? So in my mind, I started churning, but of course, Daboll was not having any of that talk, and He was like, you know what? We can take everything one game at a time, and here we are. One game at a time, but this game sucked.